Pastor Castle. This is Christina. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Oh, perfect. I can hear you clearly as well. Thank you.
Okay, you got it.
Good evening, everyone. Now it's 6:38. So I would like to call the January 21, 2025 City Council meeting to order. The public is encouraged to join the meeting online or by phone at the numbers printed on the agenda, which can be found on the city's website at www.diamondbarca.gov, or in person, Main Auditorium, South Coast Air Quality Management District. We have also allowed public comments to be submitted in advance to the city clerk. If any were received, they will be noted for the record when we get to the public comments period. This meeting is being recorded, and by participating, you are giving your permission to be televised. This meeting will be rebroadcast every Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m. and alternate Tuesday at 8 p.m. and archived for viewing on the city's website at www.diamondbarca.gov. Now we will proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance, invocation, and roll call. And please, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilmember Stan Liu. So please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And please remain standing for the invocation by Ab Castro, Associate Pastor of the Landmark Church. Please stand up.
Thank you, Mayor. Please face the flag and right hand over our heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Thank you, Lord, for our civil servants. Thank you for their hard work and their sacrifice. May you continually bless them. May you generously give to each of them wise and discerning hearts who skillfully govern the people of Diamond Bar. Give the mayor, the city leaders, the staff, the city council wisdom so that they may solve problems, distinguish between right and wrong, and bring order, stability, and prosperity to this great community. Help those dealing with the loss from the fires rise our cities up to be victorious after the destruction. Give those cities wisdom to bounce back because there's so many challenges ahead of them. Protect those who are fighting the fires. Also bless the police officers. Take care of our troops. Be with our teachers. And be with all the leaders in the city, state, and federal government. We thank you for our great city. May it shine bright with unity in our state and in our country. Lead us tonight. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. City Clerk Santana, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Chow,
Here.
Councilmember Liu,
Here.
Councilmember Lowe,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Tai,
Here.
Mayor Tang.
Here. Next is the approval of the agenda. City Attorney Sandoval, are there any reportable actions from the closed session today?
Mayor, there's no reportable action out of the closed session earlier today. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager Fox, are there any change of the agenda?
Mayor, no changes to the agenda this evening.
Agenda is hereby approved. Now we'll proceed to the next session, special presentation, certificates, and proclamation. Today we'll have a proclamation declaring January 29, 2025 as a Lunar New Year. And we have representatives from the Diamond Bar Chinese American Association here at the City Council to accept this proclamation. So the members of the Diamond Bar Chinese American Association, can you please come forward to the stage? And our council members, colleagues, please come down. Hey, Tony. I think.
Alan, how are you?
How are you? How are you? How are
This is my wife.
Hi. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Year. All right. I'm so pleased to see so many familiar faces from the Diamond Bar Chinese American Association. They represented the community to come here to accept this proclamation, the Lunar New Year proclamation. This is the biggest day, biggest holidays celebrated by the many people in our community. And there are peoples from China, Taiwan, Korea, Japan, Vietnam, and Malaysia, Singapore. Many residents from those areas celebrate these big holidays. This is one of the big holidays. So at this time, I'll take this opportunity to say, 恭喜发财, 恭贺新喜, Happy New Year to all the people who are celebrating this day. In the next week, January 29, I'm sorry, today is 21. So next Wednesday, it will be a big holiday. So this is our city's proclamation. Lunar New Year, predominantly celebrated by millions of Asians and Pacific Island of Chinese, Korean, Singapore, and Vietnamese descent, is a time for joy and renewal. On this special day, families celebrate and prepare for the arrival of the year of good health and prosperity, and we proudly reflect on their many contributions. And Lunar New Year's typically falls sometimes between January 21st and February 20th annually. This year, the Lunar New Year is on January 29th. And the Chinese lunar calendar is made up of cycles of 12 years, and each of them being named after the 12 Chinese zodiac animals. This year marks the year of the snake. And today we commemorate Lunar New Year and join families in Diamond Bar, California, Asian, and around the world in welcoming the year of the snake. And the City Council and the City of Diamond Bar invites everyone to celebrate the richness of cultural heritage and recognize the valuable contributions of Asian and Pacific Islanders to our communities. The City Council wishes good fortune, health, longevity, and happiness to everyone celebrating the year of the snake and proclaim January 29, 2025 as Lunar New Year. This is our proclamation. And I will have the president of the board of the Diamond Bar Chinese Association, Chinese American Association, Mr. Alan Koo, come up to accept this proclamation on behalf of all the people who celebrating Chinese New Year. And Alan, would you say a few words?
Okay. Our Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and the councils. Good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure to have the chance to accept this Honorable Lunar New Year proclamation. And this is one step, and I hope in the future, maybe the country, the government, the city will recognize the day as our national holiday in the future. This is a one step be recognized, but next step we hope it will become to our national holiday. As long as we are united together here, I think most of us, like the Asian community here, a lot of us, we are the first generation coming here. We are coming here with a very, very limited resource. But I believe as long as we united together, we will make the Diamond Bar, our country, have a better life for our next generation. Thank you. Thank you for everybody. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Koo. Any of the members of the Diamond Bar Chinese American Association want to speak a few words? Oh, Tony Tong.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tony Tong, and I'm honored to be the one of the members for Diamond Bar Chinese American Association. I was the president when it's 2003. Wow, that's been a long time. But anyway, I'm still the member, and I'm proud to be the Walnut Valley Unified School District board member. And I think this is going to be very important for our students too, to value their culture and then really understand and respect all of the races, right? And that's so important. So I really appreciate City for doing this proclamation, and we will definitely honor because of that too, and we will continue to support. And for the Diamond Bar Chinese American Association, I want to invite all of you. We are going to have a celebration on February 8th, Saturday, from 10 a.m. to, 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. And just to celebrate the culture, we are going to have a dragon dance, lion dance, foods, and then also some very interesting performance. So I want to welcome you all to join this event to celebrate, at the Diamond Bar High School, and it's our school district, okay? The best school district. So please come to join us, and the school district is really honored to co-host that event. So please come and join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any of the council members want to speak a few words? Steve? Yeah. Good. Okay.
Mayor, let me just make a comment in response to Mr. Torn's comment, invitation, and your comment about inviting everybody to join. This morning, Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem and I were at the Rotary meeting, and we had a special presentation about Chinese New Year. And I share that because I think that Lunar New Year is not just limited to Chinese people or Asian, but I think as a community in Diamond Bar, we're so diverse. Everyone is sharing each other's culture. I think there's so much interest. So your invitation is well taken. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Yeah, I'd like to wish everybody Happy New Year. 新年快樂，恭喜發財，身體健康。祝大家恭喜發財，身體健康。So I can talk about the Diamond Bar Chinese American Association. Have fortunate been into celebrations a few years, and we thank the organization for hosting one every year. And then this year, I believe you're getting other ethnicity or other organizations involved in putting the event together. Correct? Yeah. So that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So this event and this holiday is for everybody, not just the Chinese, not just the Asians, for everybody. So everybody is welcome to celebrate with us, to enjoy the good food, good performance, and immerse yourself in the different culture, right? Thank you very much. Thank you. Sure. Good. Let's squeeze.
Everybody look out right there, please. Okay, one more yet? Okay, thank you. And here. Perfect, and then one more.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right here?
Okay, we'll continue. Next, we will have the city manager report and the recommendation. Mr. Fox?
Mayor and council, excuse me, I'd like to take this opportunity just to provide a quick update on the windstorm events that we've had over the last couple of weeks. Our hearts, certainly go out to all of those that were impacted by the Palisades and Eaton fires particularly. I don't think anybody could have predicted the extent and of damage that was caused in a very, very short period of time. It was only 2 weeks ago that those were that those were started. On a very positive note, I'm happy to report that Diamond Bar fared very well. We were fortunate that the winds never materialized in our area as they were predicted. As you know, we did have a couple of public power or public safety power shutoffs in the southern part of the city. But other than that, I think we should be counting our blessings that we fared very well. That being said, something as devastating as these fires or any other natural disaster could happen at any time, anywhere, and we really do need to be prepared. We do have, I believe we have representatives from Southern California Edison, the Walnut Valley Water District, and the Los Angeles County Fire Department here with us this evening, and I'd like to invite them up to say a few words and provide some updates to the council and to the community. Do we have representatives from Southern California Edison? And Fire Department and Walnut Valley Water District. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Hello, Mayor, council members. Thank you, City Manager Fox, for having me here. So I'll just speak briefly on the fire department side of things. My name's Dustin Robertson. I'm the acting assistant chief for your area right here for Los Angeles County Fire Department. And I'll start by saying that last year, the city of Diamond Bar held multiple public safety presentations for the city last year, which was really good. It was the Sheriff's Department. Aaron spoke for the Sheriff's Department side of it. I spoke for the Fire Department side of it. Assistant City Manager McLean spoke. Cecilia set it all up for us, and we all gave Anthony, we all gave a presentation on certain parts of our job. So one of the things that I talked about was this Ready, Set, Go manual, and this is a manual that the fire department has for people to tell them how to get ready for a brush fire and things they can do. This manual can be found on our website, fire.lacounty.gov. I also put some in the back, and there's a QR code in the back. If you don't want to carry this thing around, you can scan the QR code. And really, it's a really good manual to get people prepared for a wildland fire. And I'll just touch on it really quick and what it talks about. But some of the things it talks about is the ready part of it. The ready part of it is right now, it's today. It's all through brush season, which appears to be year-round now. But it's getting your home ready, getting the dead brush away from your home, getting the dead fuels away from your home, getting the pine needles and dead leaves out of your rain gutters that probably are in there right now because of the last wind event. It's really preparing your house for a fire. And then the set part of this, so ready is getting your house ready. Set is what you're going to take when the time comes and you need to leave. And some of the things that you don't want to think about it when the time comes, you already want to have that plan, getting your birth certificate, marriage certificate, pink slips, banking information, all the your pills. And a lot of people forget their pets. You got to get your pets and know that your pets are going with you. And then when it's time to go and that evacuation order comes out, the go part of it is go. When it's time to go, you need to leave your home and hope for the best at that point. And you need to have a plan when it's time to go, where you're going to go, know how you're going to get out of your street and your community, and have a meeting point with other people in your family. So that's just a real quick talk on this manual right here. And I have nothing to do with these other apps, but there are some very good apps out there too that help keep people informed, and I use them for the fire department side of it because it helps me out. And one of them is called Watch Duty, and it's free. It shows a little picture of a flame, and you get that app on your phone, and it shows you every fire in the state of California, and you can touch it, and it tells you everything about the fire, how big it is. It tells you the evacuation orders. It shows you the warnings. So if you're wondering if you're not at home and you think there's a fire in your neighborhood, you can click on that app and it'll show you the perimeter, and it'll tell you if your house is under a warning or an order. And then it kind of tells you, it kind of feeds you through the steps of what you can do. So just little things to help you out. But when it's time to go, if I could just emphasize, when the time is to go, it's time to go. And you could see like some of the fires we saw on TV when people decided to leave too late and their cars blocked the intersections and they had 100 cars going all the way up the street because everybody got out and ran for it. Well, at that point, there's no way for people to get out and there's no way for us to get in. So I just like to push that point. When it's time to go, it's time to go. And some people think because we're not used to being around brush fires, when it's clear outside and you can see really good outside right now, when a fire comes through, it can be 12 o'clock in the afternoon and it looks like it's the middle of the night with no stars and no moon because it is pitch black. And then you add the smoke to it. And then if it's a wind event like it was the other day, the ember cast that goes through your street, you can't see anything. So if you wait too long to go, you're really putting your life in danger and you're putting others in danger because they're trying to get to you out of your house. So something to think about, but this manual right here really spells things out pretty good. So I would highly recommend scanning that QR code in the back and checking it out. And then in March, the city of Diamond Bar is putting those public safety presentations on again. So they start in March, and I think we do like 4 or 6 of them throughout the summer and the spring, and they're very good, very informative. So hopefully people can attend that.
Thank you. Can you answer some questions from the council member?
I don't know, but I'll try.
So let's start with the council member Lowe.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, thank you so much for the presentation. I've read that book. It's really has some really great suggestions, and really it's so timely for us to take heed to that. A couple of questions. I was approached by some residents this past week, and they brought up the fact that they had neighbors who had fire issues or were not acting very with common sense and just maybe careless. My question is, with so much resources being diverted and devoted to the fighting the fires, what kind of response can our residents expect in response to non-fire emergencies at this time?
Well, non-fire, it's the same. Non-fire is super easy for us. So engine, squad, truck company, whatever the call entails, it's normal. Staffing's always been up. Now, the night of the fire was probably the lowest staff we've been for a while, so other engines are picking up those calls coming in. It was a rare moment, but those are rare fires. And it was still staffed, but not every single station in the county was staffed with an engine. Some of them just had a paramedic squad or just a patrol. And it probably took till the next day. The fire started Tuesday night, and it probably took to Wednesday to get everything staffed full again. But that wouldn't have stopped the medical aids. It may have just been a delayed response for EMS calls with the engine company getting there. The squad would have been there same time, ambulance same time. But for fire calls, if I could just add this real quick, because this area right here is pretty unique. So the fire, like if you had a brush fire call right now, I'll just tell you your response is probably the biggest in the United States for this area. So anywhere in LA County, if you get a call for a brush fire, it's 7 engines, 4 camp crews, 3 camp superintendents, a bulldozer, a patrol, 2 battalion chiefs, and it's 3 helicopters, 1 helicopter coordinator, and then that Sikorsky, which is that really big black and white Edison copter. It says LA County on the side. Those are all on the first alarm response. And then because it's the city of Diamond Bar, you're in this area called the Mutual Threat Zone. So San Bernardino County, Orange County, Riverside County, and LA County, we all share borders. So if there's a threat to one location, it could become a threat to another. So we all send a response to the other's location. And Diamond Bar fits in that location. So really, all those other counties are sending a first alarm brush response along with our first alarm brush response and our helicopters to this area. And because this area is also, it's in a state responsible area or within a half a mile of, so it's state land. So with that first alarm response, you get an air attack coordinator, which is an airplane that flies super high in the sky. You can never see him, but he's directing the aircraft coming in, and you get 2 fixed wing retardant dropping aircraft. And that's on a first alarm. So when somebody calls because they see what they think is a brush fire on the other side of the canyon, it's really just a patio light that's flickering. That is the response that's coming on that call. You don't get to see it all because we'll cancel it as soon as we identify what it is, but it's a pretty unique response. And the response level here, it's always up and running. It's never, the county's so big that if there was a big fire in one area, we just move engines into that area to take the place of the engines that are on the fire. So the response level really never goes down.
Thank you. I'm just breathless. That's really great news, and it's very comforting, and I think our people will really be happy to hear that. My other question is that in addition to questions from our residents, some questions from residents to me have been that they want to show love to our firefighters. They want to buy you guys lunch, dinner, whatever, in and
Yeah.
out truck. What do you say to that?
It's we appreciate it, but it's really not necessary. In fact, we have like directives coming out from our department on what to do because this is coming out so much. So I would say our biggest thing we could say is we appreciate it. Thank you very much for your thoughts, but it's just not necessary. We're glad to be here and we love doing what we're doing. So, but thank you anyway.
Thank you.
Councilmember Liu?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. I got a quick question. You mentioned that when it's time to go, it's time to go. When is that time? Is it when the evacuation warning comes or evacuation?
It's the evacuation order, which you can get on that app that I was just telling you about. And there's also another app called Genesis Protect, and it's free. And it is by the Office of Emergency Management puts that app out. And when an order comes out, so if we get on scene and we're like, oh man, we need to evacuate this area right here, the city of Diamond Bar is part of that. It's part of the plan. It's already been in the planning process. So the city of Diamond Bar, some cities aren't there yet. This city is, and you have identified numbers on this map. So I can give Office of Emergency Management that number, and then they'll send out an evacuation warning. So cell phones start going off, phones start ringing, Facebook starts sending messages out to tell people to get out of that area. So when you get that, it's a for sure time to go. But if you look up in the sky and you see a lot of smoke and it's getting closer and you haven't got that order yet, or maybe you just see a warning, if you just see a warning, maybe it's just time to get set. But if your area comes into an order or you haven't got it yet because maybe you live really close and the fire started in your area, it's time to go, because if you wait too long, we've already seen what can happen. People perish in the fire, or they block the access routes for us, and then they can't get out themselves, because you saw what happened in Palisades. They blocked the road and they got out of their cars and they left, and it blocked the road for everybody behind them. The other thing some people do is they don't want their cars to burn when they leave their house, so they pull their cars out and they leave them in the street. They don't leave them next to the curb, they leave them in the street. Well, that's no good for us, because like I said, when you can't see anything, you can't see that car there either, so it's tough. So
Thank you, Chief.
give me one.
Just real quick, I'm sure you hear this all the time, but it's worth repeating. We thank you. Thank you for your service, and thank you for fighting the fire on behalf of all of us. It was a harrowing experience for some of our friends and family relatives who lived through that fire, so thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Airport.
Chief, can you comment on the wayward emergency notifications we all got?
Yeah.
We understand it was Palisades and it was Eaton, and I don't know if it was 5 times we got those notifications.
Oh, I know about that. I know that it went out incorrectly once.
Right.
And then it was followed up by letting us know that it was incorrect. Like, it went out wrong. So I don't know how it went out wrong. We don't send them out. So how it usually goes down is we get into an area and we identify by the numbers that Diamond Bar has on their maps. We identify a number, and we'll call the Office of Emergency Management, so OEM. We call them up and we say, we need an immediate evacuation order in this area right here, and we can define the area. So even if it comes out in a number map and the fire's way over here, we can break it down. And then we'll tell them, put an order here and put a warning here, and then the notifications go out. So it could be as simple as me saying the number as LAC 0132, and maybe they heard 0133. So that could be one possibility of how that goes out wrong, but I'm not sure. That one was widespread, so I could imagine that it was a push of a button somewhere that didn't go correctly.
And is that
but-
OEM that does that? It's
Yes.
not. It's not the fire department's OEM.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Chief, clearing a brush is very important in our city.
Yes.
And right now, I understand there's only once a year that we got a notification of a clearing. That's usually in June. I think knowing that the weather gets drier and drier, there's more like leaves around, the brushes around. Would it be a good idea to have like a year-round, constant reminder of the resident to clear up the brushes?
I think the year-round reminder is there, but for us to go out all year round, and there's for the county, for the fire department, there's probably 25,000 brush inspections per year. So this area would be one of those areas that has them. So it's a big draw on us to get it done, and to get it done in the time frame we have to get it done. So we have 6 weeks to complete those inspections, the 25,000, because then there's a follow-up inspection that goes with it. and then the homeowner actually pays for that inspection. It's I think they pay $150 a year on their tax bill. It's somewhere around there. I'm pretty close to right. But I could imagine that process being 4 times a year. I think a lot of times they're not happy with this anyway. Well, that would be 4 times a year that they're not happy with this. But I think we give you the message of what you have to do. We give you the maps. It's actually in this book too that shows you. And then we go out once a year and try and enforce it, but it's up to the homeowner to really keep that up. So.
Thank you, but I think paying a little bit upfront and to prevent the big disaster is worthwhile.
Oh, I agree.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for coming here.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Now, I see manager of Warner Valley Water District, Sherry, can you please come to do your presentation?
Thank you, Mayor Tang, City Council members and residents, other members of the community. My name is Sherry Shaw. I am the General Manager for Walnut Valley Water District. And I thought in light of the current tragedies and the fires that we should, come visit City of Diamond Bar. And we haven't been here in a while to present, but wanted to kind of share who we are, because a lot of the residents might not be familiar with what we cover and what we do. So our district covers service for 6 different cities. Diamond Bar is the largest area in square footage or in miles throughout the district. And Diamond Bar is the only one completely served all through the city by Walnut Valley Water District. Now, we're a self-governed agency by a board of 5 elected officials, and 2 members of our board represent Diamond Bar. In attendance tonight, representing Diamond Bar Division 3 is our past year's president, Teresa Lee, over here. She was just up. We also have current year's president representing Division 5, Scarlett Kwong in the back. And lastly, Representative Division 4, Henry Wu, representing Rowland Heights area, also in the back. And again, in light of the fires, I just wanted to let everyone know while no urban water system is designed to fight a wildfire of that nature, a super firestorm like that, that would suggest an endless supply of what we have in our resources. Just wanted to show you how prepared we are tonight and how blessed you are to live here. So starting with our emergency preparedness, we have this mindset at the district. We plan a comprehensive emergency response plan addressing natural disasters, cyber attacks, and more. We train regular internal and external training. We implement with tabletop and field exercises, as well as regular use and maintenance of our equipment. And we monitor consistent review of our water system on SCADA and operational readiness, meaning preventive maintenance that we just talked about, and innovate. Together, we increase our knowledge of new threats and prepare accordingly. Our water supply reliability. Our investment in our water supply. Storage is number 1. We have 32 reservoirs providing an average of 50 million gallons of water in storage at all times. At this point in time, we have our reservoirs full, of course, with the dry weather and the fire threat with the winds. The material of our reservoirs is important to know, too. We have all steel, some concrete underground reservoirs, but mostly steel. We also have redundancy in our reservoirs. So 2 tanks at each site normally, or a minimum of 2 in a zone in the district. For power, we have 13 generators at critical locations throughout the district. And redundant systems that I just mentioned maintain operation during power outages, and that might include an Edison PSPS event. And infrastructure. Now, you've heard a lot of this on the news lately. Our infrastructure is created and maintained to support firefighting efforts and provide a safe supply for customers. But you hear a lot about the hydrant itself, okay? And that it failed. Well, that's not exactly the case, okay? So fire hydrant, you can think of it like a valve that the fire department opens. And yes, we maintain ours very regularly, especially with painting and keeping them clean. But that fire hydrant's connected to a pipeline underground that's also connected to pump stations and our reservoirs, our tanks. And if you think about it, throughout the district, we have 426 miles of pipeline under there and 3,780 hydrants throughout the district that the fire department can call on. Now, our system resilience, we are ready under any circumstance to go. We are 24/7 on-call certified operators to monitor our system. Our technology is advanced to be able to monitor and control and protect system operation. And our staffing, we have 57 professionals trained to respond quickly and effectively. Under community and notification, we have community awareness. Our emergency alerts, we have real-time text messages, emails, and website social media updates during these times. Our partnerships with the city and county and regional government, as well as the sheriff and fire department. And our media, our local outlets, including Chinese language media, also a language assistant, so translated materials in Chinese and Spanish, and I think Tagalog. Wanted to show you a map of the system here and what it covers. All those different colors represent the different cities. And as you can see, Diamond Bar is the largest in there. It also shows our tanks, and even though it shows maybe one tank, there's usually two at a site. So we are also covering Walnut, a large portion of Walnut, a tiny portion of Pomona, about half of Rowland Heights, a third of City of Industry, and a tiny little portion of West Covina as well. That list, I know it's hard to see, but it shows all of our pumps and tanks at each site. And we can move water quickly in between zones, which is really important. Under maintenance and landscaping, as we were just discussing just a moment ago, we're very robust and proactive in our maintenance of our facilities. If you've ever been near one of our facilities, if you live close to one, you'll notice we're very good neighbors and we keep stuff very clean there at the site. So we have regular service of facilities and grounds to clear the debris and the hazards. We have a capital improvement program where we adopt our rates to support scheduled infrastructure upgrades, and then again, with communication, we work with our neighbors to maintain the area surrounding the district properties, the HOA, city, or county. This is the part I'm going to get excited about. So mutual aid, we're a part of some partnering organizations where we help each other out in these types of situations. So PWAG is Public Water Agencies Group, and CalWARN. And these are county and statewide emergency management and assistant networks. So PWAG, that first one I mentioned, we have 21 entities throughout LA County ready to provide assistance to each other. And we are currently we have assisted Kinaloa Irrigation District and Rubio Canyon with 2 of our portable generators to use right now. Also the fuel that goes with them, supplies, and some of our operations personnel for miscellaneous tasks to help these organizations as they would help us if we were in an emergency as well. And CalWARN, a second one, supporting and promoting statewide emergency preparedness and disaster response and mutual assistance. Lastly, I wanted to mention our fire-resistant landscape workshops. They are specific to Diamond Bar, Walnut, and Rowland Heights. There's already a webinar on YouTube and our website, But there is an in-person workshop coming Saturday, February 8th at 10 a.m. at the Diamond Bar Center. There's some flyers that we have out in the lobby. I could leave some more if you wanted to pick one up. And that, of course, gives you great ideas to firescape your yard. And it also includes the fire department, forestry division of LA County Fire Department. So hopefully tonight, this shows the city of Diamond Bar how we are definitely dedicated to meeting the water supply needs of the communities we serve. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Thank you. And I'll start with Council Member Chow. Do you have any question? No?
Thank you. Sherry, you talked about 32 reservoirs and 50 million gallons average at all times. So we all heard about what happened in the Palisades. How do we avoid that here?
While it can't be completely avoided, if we were to have several hours, I mean, what happened up there is their systems gave out after a long time.
No, I'm talking about the one that was, I forget what the time frame was, that it wasn't available since November, and they knew it was a problem. How do
Right.
what does Walnut Valley Water do to avoid that?
Well, again, usually our fire season is in the middle of summer in July, but this is a very strange time of year. When we finally saw that it was getting dry, we saw there could be fire threats. We immediately pulled up all of our tanks we're used to fluctuating our tanks quite a bit. Sometimes in the summer we have to go, adjust for water quality. So what we did in this instance is we brought all of our tanks up to that 50 million gallon ready to go, ready for a fire. But again, with long periods of time of fighting, if you're working, let's say 15,000 gallons per minute for 3 or 4 hours, it could suck that zone dry basically, and that's what happened up there. They did have a tank out in Palisades for maintenance, and that's usually what we water districts do during this time of year. When there's low demand, we usually take them out of service to perform. Like I said, we have redundancy, so there's one tank full, and let's say we're gonna take down another tank for service. So that one's still ready to go. But in this case, we only have one tank down, that's Ridgeline Tank B. So we have 3 reservoirs up at Ridgeline, and there's other reservoirs from different areas that can feed that area as well. So redundancy with gravity flow from our reservoirs, and the pump stations, again, moving water very quickly, and we do have those generators to supply in case we lose our power.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lowe, do you have any question?
I have a quick question. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you, Sherry. During the Palisades fire, they talked about some of the fire hydrants up in higher elevations that had lower pressure than, I don't know if that's true or not, but we do have different variation of elevations in City of Diamond Bar. And how do we have a system in place to make sure the pressure is the same in the higher elevations?
Yes, our system is designed to meet those pressures. Even though they are low, normally you can definitely pump up to that level when the fire department requires it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. I don't have any more questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
The SCE representative here.
I'm not seeing any representative from Edison, so we'll follow up and maybe get them to come back another night.
Sure. Well, do.
Thank you. That concludes our report.
Thank you. And we'll go next to public comments. Public comments is the time reserved on each regular meeting agenda to provide an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the council on consent calendar items or other matters of interest not on the agenda that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Although the city council values your comments, Pursuant to the Brown Act, members of the City Council or staff may briefly respond to public comments if necessary, but no extended discussion and no action on such matters may take place. There's a 5 minutes maximum time limit when addressing the City Council. At this time, I will call up speakers who have submitted a speaker card first. Then City Clerk Santana will ask for those callers joining the teleconference who may wish to speak under public comments. And I have received a speaker cards from, the first one is Cynthia Yu.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, city staff, and members of the audience. My name is Cynthia Yu from Diamond Library. Celebrate National Puzzle Day by being the fastest jigsaw puzzler at the library on Wednesday, January 29. Grab some friends or come solo and join us for a fun puzzle competition. First to finish wins. This program is for adults. Put on your cozy jammies, bring along your favorite stuffy or blanket, and join us for a pajama story time with stories, songs, and rhymes on Thursday, January 30th at 6:45 p.m. This program is for ages 5 to 11 with parent or caregiver. New parents, join us at a special program designed for you. Bring your new baby and learn about all the great programs and services we have for parents, caregivers, and children, and connect with other new parents' families in the community. This program will take place on Saturday, February 1st at 10:30 a.m. Also join us as we celebrate and learn about Lunar New Year at the library on Saturday, February 1st at 2 p.m. We'll provide an assortment of arts and craft stations for kids to explore, as well as special treats for all to enjoy. This program is for ages 5 to 12 with parent or caregiver. Also, N95 masks are available at all LA County Library locations. Masks are provided by the Department of Public Health while supplies last. Please visit our website, lacountylibrary.org, for more information about our services and programs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Douglas Barcombe. Mr. Douglas Barcombe.
Okay, first, Mr. Mayor, or Mr. Dr. Mayor, can we increase the volume on the audio? It's low back here, just to let you guys know.
Okay, we can do that.
Is that better now, I hope? I hope at least. Anyway, my name is Dr. Douglas Barcombe. I'm going to talk about 3 things or 4 things. Most of it was already discussed in this last presentation about the water company. And then Councilmember Tai covered a good chunk of it also. Just to let you guys know that I did some research on this. I also called the water company, didn't get a response that had any information that I needed. I found something online from the fire department regarding the number of reservoirs/tanks that are available in Diamond Bar. And it looks like I think there's like 14 tanks in Diamond Bar that are visible at least on Google Earth and on sources that I found. They all seem to be very well maintained from the visibility that I could see. Questions I had on that is, in light of the fires at Pacific Palisades and the Eaton fire, what is the percentage, basically, of tanks that are actually available? In addition to that, I noticed that there is a pumping station by the Chevron station at the on-ramp to the eastbound 60 at Diamond Bar Boulevard that doesn't seem to be on any record that I could find. It must be somewhere, but I couldn't find it. But what I did notice is there's like 14 tanks, I believe, in the city. Percentages are unknown when they do fill them up. And that was the big question I had regarding fire safety. The other things I was going to bring up, I brought up to the city previously. Nothing has ever happened. So I think it's time that the council gets involved and tries to encourage people to get their job done, I suppose I can say. That's regarding the intersection of Diamond Bar Boulevard and Palomino / Gentle Springs. Number one, the street lights at the intersection, as it starts to get dark, rather than turning on and staying on, they go on for a period of time, then they go off for a period of time, and then they go on, and then they go off. It can be dark, and cars are trying to drive through the intersection, and all of a sudden, the street lights go out. That's never been resolved. I reported it to Edison, never got fixed. Next thing is regarding the traffic signal at the same intersection. If you are going east, I guess it would be east or west on Palomino / Golden Springs, trying to cross the street or make a turn onto Diamond Bar Boulevard, that light can literally, it will turn green and then it will turn red within a matter of a second. Maybe one car will get into the intersection partially. The next car going through is going to be in the red. When they go in there, it seems to be a random event, but it happens quite often. So there's something to do with the computer system, that it's not handling the traffic appropriately at that intersection. And the same holds for the left turn bay, turning left onto Gentle Springs. It may change in a matter of a second or so. So there's something wrong with that intersection that has to be corrected. And the next thing I wanted to ask about is, it doesn't pertain to Diamond Bar itself exactly, but it's more like there are community emergency resource teams or CERT teams. I don't know if those were even activated at the Eaton fire or the Palisades fire. It's just a question that I came up with. I don't even know if it's even available in Diamond Bar. It's something to think about. And so other than that, that's my questions for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. We can have a public work to check those traffic lights. Next, I have a speaker card from Amy Mao. Amy Mao?
Good evening, Mayor Tan and the council members. And my name is Amy Mao, and I'm a board member of Diamond Hills Ranch. It's a gated community of north of Grand Avenue and on Diamond Bar Boulevard. So given the recent devastation fires across LA County, I would like to address the prevention measures in our city, especially majority of our city resides in the fire hazard area. So our community is surrounded by hills, and some of which we maintain ourselves. However, it is not always very clear that who is responsible for other areas around our communities. And I'm seeking the city guidance on how we can work together to clarify maintenance responsibilities and identify risk areas. Additionally, I think, today I think it's very helpful. We have the chief of fire station came over here. So in the future, I wanted to know if we can create a comprehensive preventative plan for those vulnerable regions. I know that South Diamond Bar is kind of vulnerable region because I lived there for over 20 years and then evacuated once. But now if we can work together and take some proactive measures like all this vegetation management, fire breaks, and the public education, it could make a significant difference in minimize fire risks. So my question is, who can we contact within the city to begin those conversations and ensure the coordination effort? And we are eager to contribute to a safe Diamond Bar overall. So thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you for your comment. City Manager Mr. Fox, are you able to briefly just telling the resident whom to contact if they want to do the vegetation management?
We'll have some staff members get back in touch. Most likely it'll be from our Public Works Department that does our annual weed abatement programs.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, because we're a private community and we'll have our management company to contact. Who will be the person that we can contact? Just Public Works?
That would be our first step. Otherwise, it would be the fire department themselves.
Okay, but those areas, probably belongs to City of Diamond Bar, because that they can help to clear the area. So fire department can only give the violation report or citations, but we wanted to find out, because, that's a very big hilly area. And according to our management company, they said they don't know who to contact. So.
It should be a public work department, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have a speaker card from Eleanor Barua.
Hello. Hello, City Council members and the rest of Diamond Bar community members. My name is Eleanor Barua, and I am a 38-year resident of Diamond Bar. And I just wanted to bring forward to you the concerns that the south part of Diamond Bar, of which we live, the very southern part, borders Brea Canyon and Silver Bullet, with the PSPSs, that is the public safety power shutoffs, that have been quite frequent. And this is as a result of Edison wanting to be safe and their continued intermittent and excessive shutdown of our electricity with no rhyme or reason as to the reason that they're doing this. We're told in their many, many emails that it's because of the high winds. But the only high winds in the last 4 months, I think it is, that we have had were yesterday, and there was no power shut off at all. We received many emails, but there was no power shut off. We're told over and over again that we're on the brakeman circuit and that just to be aware. But I guess my biggest concern is, why is it only the south end of Diamond Bar that's being affected? My husband and I have driven our area only to find, as we get closer traveling northbound on Brea Canyon towards Heritage Park, that it stops. And now we've noticed that even within our community there, the track homes, it's even closer, where it seems like on Castle Rock Road, the exact street seems to be affected the most. And I guess I want to know why we are singled out and no other part, even though Diamond Bar as a city is in a fire brush area. And I have been a longtime resident. I was part of the evacuation November 8th, I think it was 2000. Oh, I don't remember the year, if it was 2008, I think it was. And it was the triplex, I think, or complex fire, that's what it was. And on Friday, I was at a nephew's football game, Edison in Huntington Beach, and the winds were really howling there. By Saturday, they had reached Corona, they had reached Yorba Linda, they had reached Brea, and then on that Sunday, they came to Diamond Bar. We had no previous warning, no power shutdowns, just police officers driving through saying to evacuate. And that's the other concern that I have is, why now? So much of the Southern California Edison shutdowns, and we had never had that before. I think some of these shutdowns, and I know Diamond Bar is not Southern California Edison, but if you could help us out maybe by speaking to Edison, saying why us? That's the Brea Canyon and Silver Bullet, Brea Canyon and Copper Canyon, Brea Canyon and what's the other one? Oh, Diamond Bar Boulevard, the signals that are affected. And they're affected for 9 hours, 29 hours, 32 hours when the power goes down. So I think those personally are hazardous because Brea Canyon in morning traffic and returning traffic, it's just stop and go if they feel like stopping. And so I think that's a big concern. I do think we fared well when it came to the Pacific Palisades fire. I do think we fared very well when it came to the Eaton fire. But faring well when your food is spoiling for all those hours and there's no concern or recourse that we're being offered. Again, my concern is just, and I think many of the community of Diamond Bar also want to know why. So if we could get some help on that, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. I think we definitely will continue to invite representative from SCE to come to talk to us, and we can find out from the representative what's going on there. Thank you. And the next speaker card comes from Lauren Neely.
Good evening. I'm Lauren Neely. I've lived in Diamond Bar for about 40 years. For that 40 years, where I live on Longview Court, which is a little cul-de-sac off of Longview Drive. Behind me is a street called Deerfield. In between us is a common hill. For most of that 40 years, twice a year, that back hill would get cleaned and maintained, and all the brush would get cleared and drug off. You'll recall a couple of years ago, there was a vote taken on whose property that actually was and who should maintain it. And Diamond Bar threw up their hands and said, we're not doing it anymore. It belongs to the property owner. Then and only then did I find out that my neighbor owned that property. So now, fast forward a year later, 2 years later, I'm paying taxes, or have paid taxes now for the last couple of years on that property, my neighbor's property. Is the fire chief still here? What kind of fire retardant is dry tumbleweed? That's not very good. My back hill's loaded with those, and it's not my property. And the city's supposed to maintain that. I'm delighted to see the city manager here because I've made several calls to the city office. And you know what happens when somebody's phone is full, their mailbox is full? That call gets dropped. There's nobody else to call. And that can be very frustrated for a concerned citizen. So, Mayor, earlier you made the comment maybe we need to maintain these a little more frequently. I don't want to pay any more taxes for my neighbor's property, but I do think we ought to maintain that a little more frequently. I've made calls to the folks in the city office. They tell me that they're coming out, they're on their way, and yet, what do you suppose happens when the Santa Anas blow and they're blowing downhill? All those tumbleweeds get to end up into my property. They're stacked up, and again, that's a fire hazard. And I wanted to make a public comment this evening that I want the city to know that I personally am not happy with the way it's been maintained or the manner in which we are able to contact people. Perhaps you ought to let the people in the city office know that when their mailbox is full, they ought to clear some calls. I think that would be helpful. I promised my wife I wouldn't make too many snarky comments, so I'll limit it there. When was the last time anybody on the city council was on Steep Canyon, made the Steep Canyon hike? I didn't think so. There's some really nice signs that used to be up there that you used to be able to know as you were standing on parts of the trail where Ontario Peak is, where Mount Baldy is, where's Mount Wilson. You could look across and see all the hills to the north. All of those signs have weathered and are no longer able to read. And I think it would be good. Probably somebody in the city knows where those signs are and could easily have them reprinted and put back up. The stands to hold the signs are terrific, they're solid, but you can't read the signs anymore. So I think that would be good. There was one other thing that since I still got time, one other thing I wanted to talk. Oh, I'm a little disappointed that nobody from the city council asked Walnut Valley why our rates are going up over the next 5 years. I got a note in the mail a few weeks back. It's been a month or so. But in any event, I got a note that said they're quadrupling or quintupling over the next 5 years. Now, we're coming off of 2 years of record rainfall and snow melt, and yet our prices for rates are going up. Somebody should have asked her. I wanted to, but I was sitting back there and you're sitting up there. So, there's one other thing. I'm on a roll. Again, I appreciate you for your service and the good work that you do. Thank you, Mayor. I know that you're going to get after more frequent maintenance of our shared properties. I appreciate that.
Thank you for your comment. Now, next speaker come from Alan Wilson. Mr. Alan Wilson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Alan Wilson, a 28 and a half year resident of the City of Diamond Bar. I have a couple of issues I want to bring up to the City Council. I hope you all take a look at item 5.5. You're considering a consultant service agreement with the school district. They have a electronic billboard. From what I understand, I'd like for the city to explain a little bit more about this. This issue sounds like it's been ongoing for the last couple of years. The school district has been pleading for this electronic billboard to be built next to the 60 freeway. And reading the memorandum, it says, the Walnut Valley Unified School District proposed to install a digital billboard along the freeway frontage of the district facilities on Lemon Avenue. The development code currently forbids off-site signs, including billboards, so a number of prerequisite actions, including amendment to the development code, will have to be accomplished before the city may consider the district request. We don't have any electronic billboards anywhere in the city of Diamond Bar. You're going to make an exception to a school district that they want to put up a billboard for whatever reason. It's been an ongoing discussion for the community for the last 2 years. And it's astonishing that the applicant is going to pay $64,000 for the environmental impact report. Now let's get to the subject of environmental impact report. I mentioned at the City Council over the years that the EIR, it timed anybody to build anything in our city. And this is a sample of red tape. The governor had just said, remove the red tape to build in Pacific Palisades and in Eaton. Now, we can constantly have government telling what you can do, what you cannot do with your property. And it's detrimental to the people who own the property to make it easier, but you make it harder to people do what they need to do with their property. But back to my point about 5.5, I just wanted someone to explain to the community how long there's been ongoing discussion between the city and the school district. What's the purpose of the electronic billboard? You're going to make one? You just open the can of worms. You're going to let everyone else have electronic billboards. No electronic billboards. And on the subject of the fires, we are very fortunate to live in the city of Diamond Bar with well prepared in our water district and all facilities that we have. And for a historical reference, everybody should remember the microburst we had at Diamond Bar back in April of 2000 that ripped off the roof of LA Fitness and in that part of the neighborhood. So that's a little bit historical significance. But the fires should bring awareness to the community that how we're going to build housing and what we're going to do down the road. I'm concerned now the development of, we're going to build the downtown center, and you're going to put all these people on the second floor of the downtown concept. You're going to put all these people in there, you're going to watch all these people, and how they're going to get out if we get into a fire situation. This is a very dangerous situation, and we should be due diligence of building houses and so forth, and we should make it easier for everyone to do what they want. but the EIR is really, really crazy. But I really need the council to ask more questions about 5.5. I'm very concerned about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Alan Wilson. Next speaker can come from Rudy Chavarna.
Hello, good evening, everybody. For the record, I don't expect answers at this time because I have to pick up my son in 10 minutes. My name is Rudy Chavarria Jr. You can look me up on LinkedIn. Briefly about me, I was born in West Covina, raised in Walnut since 1966. Walnut's first mayor, Farmer Pete, was my neighbor, Farmer Pete Bourdet. I'm from class of 1985, Walnut High School. Throughout my education in the Walnut District, I held the offices of ASB President, Speaker of the House, Director of Activities, and founder of Peer Counseling at Walnut High School. Fast forward, I am an entrepreneur. You can look up my businesses online at collegestudentmarketing.com, where I market major motion pictures for Hollywood. My first film was The Passion of the Christ, and we targeted colleges throughout the United States and in Canada, marketing the film. My next company is College Ed Tech, where we mentor high school and college students. We don't help them get into college, we help them thrive once they're there. I've had home-based businesses since 1993. And this brings me to my reason for addressing you. Over the past 2 weeks, I have learned that my neighborhood has been under attack by robbers. Most recently, new neighbors were held up at gunpoint, 2 robbers out front and 2 robbers out back, and they entered the house at the same time. And unfortunately, they targeted a young Asian couple. Recently, I've stopped by and introduced myself to my neighbors throughout my neighborhood, offering my phone number and telling them about the recent crime in our neighborhood. The more I introduced myself, my neighbors shared their stories of being robbed or their neighbors being robbed. This left me depressed and frankly stressed. My concern, my wife, my 9-year-old son, when they are alone. Maybe it's my marketing experience, but I have no problem walking door to door and introducing myself and asking my neighbors if they would like to be part of a neighborhood watch. For those that I have already spoken with, 100% of them are on board. The bottom line is we are starting to feel like we are here and we are all alone. And here's the disturbing part. We are arming ourselves with guns. Is the city doing anything about burglaries and diamond bars, my question? And if so, what are you doing? I'm here for ideas, anything, so we don't feel like we have to buy guns, take gun classes, go to firing ranges to protect ourselves and our loved ones and our belongings in the city of Diamond Bar. In the coming years, will Diamond Bar be known for the city to rob because homes are by freeways and offer quick robbery and quick escape? Or is it already that way because robbers keep coming back and back and back? Will Diamond Bar be known for its Asian and Indian community for being easy targets because culturally they keep cash at home? And diamonds, gold coins, silver bars, and jewelry passed down from generations. Can we have signs put at the entryway of our neighborhoods that state you are entering a neighborhood watch community with residents who are licensed to carry firearms? Is that what this is coming to? How can you help? Please. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Scheller from Sheriff Department.
Are we on? All right, good evening. My name is Deputy Aaron Scheller, Mayor Pro Tem Ty, Mayor Tang, and City Council members. I know it's a new year, and I just thought what we might start doing is going over some of the new laws that are going to come into action that you guys are going to be seeing coming from the government and as we implement them. And so today, what I'm going to actually talk about is AB 413. If you're not familiar with AB 413, it's actually called daylighting, which is to keep the safety of pedestrians as they walk across crosswalks. And so I'm going to read a little bit of this, but a lot of this has to do with the fact that California has about a 25% higher rate of mortality when it comes to vehicular incidents with pedestrians. So they've implemented AB 413, which is basically a parking near a crosswalk, if you guys aren't familiar with that, but I'm just going to read it. That the existing law that up till now was stopping, standing, and parking of a vehicle in certain places and in certain conditions, including within an intersection or sidewalk or crosswalk or in front of a fire station, would have been 22,500 of the vehicle code section. They have added what's called 22,500 N1A, which is the daylighting. And basically what we're doing is we're creating space between our crosswalks, allowing people to see the pedestrians before they get close to the crosswalk. So it's a visual thing to help reduce the opportunity for a traffic collision when it comes to a pedestrian. And so now the bill prohibits stopping, standing, and parking of a vehicle within 20 feet of a vehicular as they're approaching the sidewalk of any marked and unmarked crosswalk. And so what's important about that is sometimes people don't understand where two roads intersect. There's an intersection and there is a crosswalk, whether it be marked or not marked. So that means you have to stop and you have to park. You can't park within 20 feet of any corner, or else you would be violating the section of 22,500 N1A. And so something to consider as we start to enforce this, especially around our schools, because this is one of the complaints we have often is the safety of our students around crosswalks. So as you're just understanding that this is new this year and we are going to be giving citations on this. So just to also tell you that the curbs do not have to be painted in order for us to enforce this, because it could be considered a common law. And so because of that, just know coming down the road, this is a law that was voted on last year and implemented as of January 1st of 2025. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Any
question?
Yeah.
So thank you for making the announcement. One of the things that kept coming up is enforcement. So, and also just informing the public. Is the sheriff's office planning some sort of PSA announcement about this specific law?
Sure. Actually, we're going to highlight it on the Diamond Bar. We're doing our PSA this month is based on 413. And I can highly encourage anybody that's listening or attending to please, the media that's coming from the city is very good, is very helpful, and it's going to explain a little bit more in detail. So we're trying to do it not only through the station website, but we're also trying to do it through the city website as well. And you're going to see us out there more often near the crosswalks. And we will give warnings, obviously, but at some point, if we see anyone doing it for a second time, we'll give a citation as needed.
Councilmember Low.
Thank you. Can you give me a visual of what 20 feet looks like from the corner? Is that like where the unmarked crossroad normally would be, or is it 2 car lengths?
Yeah, so a car length is about 16 feet. That's the average length of a car. So what we're doing is we're taking out, I know in some of the downtown cities and stuff, they're actually having to remove their parking stalls and even meters because they encroach on that. They're even moving bus stops in order to fulfill that obligation. But it will absolutely be better for pedestrians and drivers because you're going to be opening up the visual acuity to see if someone is stepping into a crosswalk.
So it's the corner into the street 20 feet?
It would be the rear, so no, not necessarily. So the crosswalk, the crosswalk is usually about 8 to 10 feet wide, and so from the rear of the crosswalk, you are going to be 20 feet from there.
Oh, so it's a 30 feet, almost
So
30
from the
feet.
very corner, if you're talking about the inside curb line, it's going to be roughly about 28 feet.
28, so this rule actually applies to almost 28, 30 feet then?
Yes.
Got it.
Any other comments?
So, we have a lot of schools in Diamond Bar. Would those be the first areas that you would send patrols over and inform the public and start writing tickets?
Yeah, so we will address the schools. They are they're the ones that we get the most complaints on. So we will address the schools. And the thing is if the car, you can be cited if you're in the car or if you're not in the car. So it doesn't mean it's a parking issue. It could be a driving issue as well. So if you drive into a crosswalk and stop, or drive 20 feet near a crosswalk, stopping to let somebody out, you could be cited for that. Okay, so the whole point is to not to stop or park in that area. So it can be a moving violation as well as a non-moving violation.
Thank you. Because I see some cars, the kids getting out of cars just as dangerous as the person that's walking by.
100%.
Thank you so much, Deputy.
Thank you.
No more comment? Thank you very much. City Clerk Santana, do you have any emails or anybody on the line that want to make a public comment?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. There was one email from Laura Neely that was submitted for public comment tonight and was forwarded to the City Council and placed at the entrance for public viewing. At this time, if any member of the public joining this meeting via teleconference would like to address the City Council, please select the raised hand icon in your GoToWebinar program. And we do have one hand raised, Mayor. We have Jenny Owl.
Go ahead.
She's had her hand raised for a while. Miss Jenny?
Jenny, are you still on the line?
Her audio is not connected at this time, so.
All right, well, consider she has left already, so we'll close the public comment section. City Manager Fox, can you please announce the schedule of the upcoming events and then proceed with the consent calendar?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. On the schedule of events, the catalytic converter etching event scheduled for tomorrow has been canceled. The Parks and Recreation Commission will be meeting on Thursday, January 23rd, starting at 6:30 p.m. in the Windmill Community Room at City Hall. There will be a special City Council meeting on Monday, January 27th, starting at 6:30 p.m. in the Windmill Community Room at City Hall. And the Planning Commission meeting scheduled for Tuesday, January 28th has been canceled. The commission recruitment application period will end on Friday, January 31st. Coffee with the Cop will be held on Saturday morning, February 1st at Bagaloo at the corner of Diamond Bar Boulevard and Grand. And the City Council will be meeting on Tuesday, February 4th, starting at 6:30 p.m. here in the AQMD auditorium. On the consent calendar this evening, you have approval of the December 17th City Council regular meeting minutes, approval of the check register dated December 10th through January 7th, approval of the December Treasurer's Statement, adoption of Resolution 2025-01, approving the city's participation in Year 5 of the county's Permanent Local Housing Allocation Program, including a determination that the action does not constitute a project under the California Environmental Quality Act, approval of a consultant services agreement with De Novo Planning Group to prepare the environmental documentation related to a proposed electronic billboard application at the Walnut Valley Unified School District Administrative Offices property, and approval of a consultant services agreement with SciTech Solutions for Document Imaging Services through June 30th, 2028. That concludes the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Would any one of the council member want to put any items for discussion?
I'll move for approval.
Councilmember Chow move for approval. Do we have a second?
A second.
It was seconded by Councilmember Liu. City Clerk Santana, can you please call for the vote?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Chow?
Yes.
Councilmember Liu?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tai?
Yes.
Mayor Tang?
Yes. Motion carries. Now, next session is a public hearing. City Manager Fox, please provide the report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Our Community Development Director, Greg Gubman, will be making the staff presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Tang and members of the City Council. The Community Development Block Grant Program was enacted under the Ford administration in 1974 to provide decent housing, a suitable living environment, and economic opportunities for disadvantaged persons in communities, including the elderly and disabled. Diamond Bar is one of 48 cities in LA County that receives federal CDBG funds through a cooperative agreement with the Los Angeles County Development Authority, which allocates the funds to its participating agencies. Tonight, I will present you with staff's proposed CDBG budget for the coming fiscal year. Before getting into the new budget recommendations, I would like to provide a recap of the CDBG program for the current fiscal year. Our total newly allocated funds plus prior year carryover funding came to $366,608. The distribution is shown on the screen, which shows $38,018 to senior programs, $168,590 to the Area 5 ADA curb ramp capital improvement project, and $160,000 to the home improvement program. For fiscal year 2025-26, which commences on July 1st of this year, the LA County Development Authority advised us to use $277,306 as our estimated allocation for the new CDBG funds. Final allocations will be provided in late February. If we combine the estimated allocation with prior year unspent and/or reprogrammable funds totaling $77,036, our estimated CDBG budget for the next fiscal year is $354,533. The city received 4 funding requests for the upcoming fiscal year. As shown in this slide, CDBG program proposals include senior programming, another round of curb ramp upgrades to improve accessibility, a continuation of the home improvement program, and an application from Upwards Care, which is a company that provides business coaching and related services for in-home child care providers. Because Upwards Care is a for-profit firm, it is not eligible to be a direct recipient of CDBG funds. Staff did speak to Upwards Care staff in early December to explain that the city would not be able to accept their application. There are 2 categories of programs for which CDBG funds can be used, and those would be public services and construction. Senior programming falls under the category of public services, while the curb ramp and home improvement programs fall under the category of construction. As shown in this table, The total amount requested falls within the estimated allocation, but there are percentage caps on how the allocation is distributed, which I will explain in the next set of slides. The LA County Development Authority allows up to 15% of our annual allocation to be put toward public services. The funding available for senior programs is thus $41,555. Because there are no eligible competing public service program funding requests, staff recommends that the maximum allocation go to senior programming. The other 85% of our annual allocation, together with prior year rollovers and loan repayments, may be used to fund construction programs. With the available funds, staff is recommending that $145 be applied toward Area 6 ADA curb ramp improvements as requested. For the home improvement program, staff recommends that it be allocated the $160,000 requested plus the additional $7,978 available for construction programs. Area 5 is located in the northernmost portion of the city, bounded on the west and south by the 57 and 60 freeways, Temple/Avenida Rancheros to the north, and Looking Glass Drive to the east. The Public Works Department has identified 7 curb ramp locations that should be prioritized in Area 6. The map shows that these intersections are at Bower Cascade and Acolito, El Encino and Shalam, and Decorah and North Del Sol, as well as Seed Green at Hourglass. The Home Improvement Program offers 0% interest deferred loans of up to $30,000 to eligible low and moderate income owners of single-family detached homes. The recommended allocation of $167,978 would fund at least 4 projects, including administrative costs. So to summarize, staff is recommending that with the estimated funds available, $41,555 be used to fund senior programming, $145,000 be applied toward Area 4 ADA curb ramp improvements, and $167,978 be made available for the home improvement program. Our recommendations are on this final slide, and with that, I'm happy to take your questions.
Are there any public comments on this item? City Clerk Santana, is there any public comments online?
Mayor, we did not receive any emails for this item. We do have some callers on the line, so at this time, if you'd like to speak on item 6.1, please click on the raised hand icon in the GoToWebinar program. No hands, Mayor.
We'll close the public comments. Are there any council members want to make a discussion or comments?
Just a quick question. I know we talked about this in the past, but I noticed that there was a $77,000 leftover allocation from last year. Maybe I missed in the report, but was that from unfunded home improvement loans?
Either unfunded or repaid loans. So when we receive the money back, if a home's been sold or refinanced, we can reuse that money.
Got it. Thank you.
Councilmember Liu.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Kalman. I noticed there is a decrease in senior programming funding from the previous year, from 47 to about 41,000. Is that, although I understand that we're maxing it out to 15%, is there a reason why there is a decrease?
It's just 15% of what the LA County Development Authority has instructed us to estimate as what we will receive. Hopefully, we'll be getting a little bit more than that. So we can, in the resolution, it allows the city manager to make adjustments to the final distribution. So if we do get a higher award that's announced in February, then 15% of that higher number would be able to be applied toward the senior programs.
So does that mean there was a higher reward a year before? And second question, does that mean that we have to cut some senior programming?
Yeah, from the year before, the final allocation did turn out to be a little bit higher, which is what we included in the staff report. It's not necessarily a reduction in senior services. It's just that the more CDBG funding that we can put into senior program, the less we need to draw from the general fund to pay Parks and Rec staff to help administer the program. So it's just a matter of how much general fund monies can be offset by CDBG funds.
I understand that part. My question is still, how come the year before it was 47,000 and we're doing 41 this year?
Because 47,000, if that's the number, was 15% of what the
the previous
allocation
year?
was.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments?
I have a question. I just want to clarify that the home improvement loans, they are available to senior citizens. That's like a presumed eligible applicant, right?
Not for construction projects. They do have to meet the income eligibility requirements. So simply being a senior does not qualify a person for the program.
Oh, I thought it was a presumed eligible because they were elderly or if they were disabled.
That would not apply to the home improvement program. The reason, for example, the curb ramp funding is eligible because the presumed a presumed portion of the population would be using the public sidewalks, and we're allowed to accommodate that.
Oh, okay, I get that. So there is still a income eligibility component to the home improvement project loan program.
Yes.
Okay. Now, on the ADA retrofit with the presumption of elderly or disabled, is that only for curb improvements? Can you do other things that benefit elderly and disabled individuals? And what I'm specifically asking is, what if you were to say at the Diamond Bar Center, you wanted to convert or add the feature to one of the smaller doors from the grand ballroom out to the restrooms and out to the kitchen, turn that into a door where you press the button and the door opens? Is that an ADA improvement that you can fund through CBDG grants?
Yes, I believe that would be eligible. In past years, we've used CDBG funds to provide improvements to playgrounds to make them ADA accessible, because the disabled are also a presumed income eligible class. So yeah, I think that would be appropriate.
Okay, so I would actually like to make that as a suggestion. I don't know where you are in the process of allocating the ramp fund, as well as I know that we have a big retrofit project going on at the Diamond Bar Center. But it's been suggested that in the Grand Ballroom, where we host many of our senior activities, that we add a door which a senior person who's in a walker or who's in a wheelchair can help their in and out of the Grand Ballroom so they can use the restrooms. As a suggestion, maybe we can look into that.
I don't know if we can do that for the upcoming budget year, because that is not a program that was requested for funding. So is my understanding is we can award or modify the funding to the programs that have been applied for. I do not believe we can direct funding to something that was not publicly noticed.
Okay, well, we can maybe kind of put that in the queue and see what we can do on that. That as a suggestion.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any more comments? So shall we vote for this, or shall we, anybody will make a amendment for the manager to do any adjustment when there's a change of fund, or we just vote on this?
That's already in the resolution before you, so if you approve it, it's part of the resolution.
Okay, thank you for clarification. So do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 2025-02, approving the Community Development Block Grant Funding Allocation for fiscal year 25-26.
Second.
Great. City Clerk Santana, please call for the vote.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Chow?
Yes.
Councilmember Liu?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tai?
Yes.
Mayor Tang?
Yes. Motion carries. Then we move on to next item. City Manager Fox, please provide the report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Our Finance Director, Jason Jacobson, will be making the staff presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. It's my honor to present you tonight with the fiscal year 23-24 financial statements and audit results. If I can get the slide deck. Thank you, Ceci. All right, just an overview of tonight's presentation. I will try to speed along here. We're going to look quickly at the scope and results of the audit. We'll then jump to some of the highlights of the ACFR document itself, the year-end results, where you can find the financial report in the future. It is attached to this agenda item, of course. And then finally, our staff recommendation. To begin with, LSL is the city's contract external auditor. They are the council members' auditor, the people's auditors. They are responsible for the financial statements audit for fiscal year 23-24 in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. In spring of 24, LSL conducted their annual interim fieldwork to test and examine our city's internal controls and assess risks to inform themselves as to how to plan for their audit approach for the upcoming year end. In the fall of that year, 2024, LSL returned to conduct their annual year-end audit, which included a detailed testing of our various account balances, sampling of transactions, and our compliance with laws and grant agreements. The auditors reviewed our internal controls, which were found to have no material weaknesses or significant deficiency. Additionally, the auditors encountered no difficulties in performing the audit and had no disagreements with city management in performing the audit. Based on their audit of significant transactions and their test work results, they have issued their unmodified opinion that the financial statements are free of material misstatements at June 30th, 2024. In other words, we finished the year with a clean audit. Now I'd like to highlight the financial statements, or also known as the ACFR Annual Comprehensive Financial Report document. As you know, we have 5 main sections here, and I probably should have said 6 because I did not put the notes section, which is basically the bulk of the report. But we have, of course, the MD&A, which still holds at 14 pages. I'm trying to keep it there. That's prepared by myself. We have also the government-wide financial statements. That looks at the city's finances as a whole in terms of assets and liabilities and net position. And then we have the fund financial statements section. And this is where you'll find details on the balance sheet for the general fund, special revenue funds like Prop A, Prop C, CDBG, our own internal funds for funding building and facilities and vehicles. And also, number 4 there on this bullet points here is the supplemental schedule section. This is where you'll find budget to actual comparisons. So they'll often show the adopted budget, the revised budget, and where we actually ended the year. Finally, we have the statistical section, which shows long-term trends for the most part, and some details on property tax and other interesting facts. Now we'll look at some of the highlights presented, all of which you can find in the management discussion and analysis. That's the MD&A. So taking it all in across all funds, citywide revenue increased $500,000 or 1%, and expenditures increased $2.5 million or 6.8%. Diamond Bar assets exceeded liabilities at the close of the fiscal year by $399.7 million. This is the city's net position, and it increased by $5 million this past year, or 1.3%. On its own, the net position is a number not very meaningful in and of itself. The bulk of it is made up of capital assets, which are something which we cannot liquidate. But it should be meaningful if you look at change over time. So for example, last year, the year prior, we saw a $7 million increase. 2 years prior to that, we had a $5.4 million increase. Our 10-year average is about $500,000 a year increase. Of this $399.7 million net position, $36.6 million represents unrestricted net position, which may be used to meet the city's ongoing obligations to citizens, creditors, and as is the, essentially this is the amount not restricted legally by external entities. This does include various reserve balances that the city has committed for various uses. This unrestricted net position increased $2.8 million year over year. Increase here is due mainly to the intentional buildup of reserves for current and future projects, which we'll look at a little bit more detail in a minute. So on average, this unrestricted net position over the last 10 years has increased $1.8 million a year. Now we'll look specifically at the general fund. Here I have a little budget to actual comparison for you. The general fund revenues, the actuals on the left, budget on the right. The actual revenues for the year were $33.1 million. This is a decrease year over year of $200,000. However, on the right, you'll see that revenues exceeded the $31.9 million budget by $1.2 million. This is mainly due to just outperforming assets offset by somewhat underperforming sales tax and development revenues. The general fund expenditures, back to the left side of the column there, for the last fiscal year were $33.2 million. This is an amount that was $5.2 million below the $38.4 million budget mentioned on the right. About $2.4 million of this savings will carry over to the next year, which is our current year, 24-25, for ongoing CIP projects and encumbered contracts related to non-CIP initiatives. So all things considered, we anticipated use of fund balance for one-time projects to the tune of $6.5 million in the adopted budget, or revised budget for the year, and we ended the year with a use of fund balance of just $100,000. Next, we'll jump into the summary of fund balances. On the top row there, we have the general fund, which I just mentioned. We used $100,000 in fund balance. And below that line, you have the aggregate of all other governmental funds. Now, you'll see here, that focusing on the governmental funds, we see an increase of about $2.8 million on the middle right column. The governmental funds include all of our other funds, such as special revenue funds, Prop A, Prop C, Measure R, landscape districts, our park development fund, our building maintenance fund, our vehicle maintenance fund, but they don't include our internal service fund. I'm sorry, I mentioned the vehicle fund. It does not include our vehicle fund, our equipment maintenance fund, our self-insurance fund, or our building and facility fund. These are considered internal service funds, which are reported separately, but we'll look at those soon here. So these are essentially our special revenue funds and our general fund. The increase here on the right of $2.8 million is largely due to the park development fund, which had an increase of $1.1 million. The landscape districts, which in aggregate had a $400,000 increase. The road maintenance fund, which was $600,000, and Prop A, which had $1 million increase. And here we have a pictorial display of that 10-year history, which I find useful. The general fund there in dark blue remained relatively flat, and the other governmental funds shows a steady increase. All right, jumping into the reserves, and this is what I like to highlight as we especially come into the budget season here within a couple months. First thing that's top of mind is always the general fund unassigned reserve balance there. That is the column here highlighting in yellow. As you can see here, the current reserve balance, the unassigned reserve balance for fiscal year 24 ended at 21.7 million. It is down by about 1.3 million year over year. As the council knows, it's the long-term goal of the city to build unrestricted reserves, to provide flexibility, respond to emergencies, fund new projects, and replace and maintain facilities, capital equipment, and assets. Therefore, the council proactively approved an updated fund balance and reserve policy in August of 2019, which established that an amount no less than 25% of general fund expenditures be committed to be set aside in case of emergencies for federal, state, or local events. This amount is here also on this table. It's shown at $8.2 million now. It's the very top left number under 2024. That's the 25% contingency reserve, and that has increased $236,000 to keep up with the current year budget. Now, how did it increase $236,000? Well, we took it out of the unassigned reserve. So as part of that policy, the really proactive fund balance and reserve policy I mentioned before, it's also the city's policy to take any surplus from the unassigned reserve at the end of the year and place it somewhat in about 40% into the park development fund, another 40% in the building maintenance fund, and to leave the remaining in the unassigned reserve. And as you can see, we didn't have a surplus this year, which is my first here at the city, but we did have other events happen throughout the year, which I will show you here. We did utilize that fund balance, so as you can see, that drawdown of 1.3 million was actually mainly due to funding other key reserves throughout the year. Here we have as I mentioned before, the 236,000 being added to our 25% contingency reserve. We have another $100,000 going to our technology reserve fund, 763 to our CIP reserve fund for ongoing projects that are under contract. We have another 295,000 going to the law enforcement reserve fund, which is essentially the savings on the sheriff's contract at the end of the year we put into the reserve. We have $1.2 million going to both the park development fund and the building maintenance fund, which happened last fiscal year, but was the savings from the 22-23 year end results, which we had that year. We had close to about, I think, a $4 million savings. So all in all, we were very busy funding those key reserves throughout the year. So I just wanted to explain that drawdown there. Moving on quickly before we get to any questions, I just wanted to show that the financial statements will be available, posted online on the city's website, as always. I would also like to thank my finance team, City Manager Daniel Fox, and the team at LSL for their continued support as we worked on the audit and financial statements this year. The city's auditor, Christian Towns, partner at LSL, is also on the line if you have any questions. That brings us to our staff recommendation, which is to receive and file the fiscal year 23-24 annual comprehensive financial report. With that, I'm happy to try to answer any questions.
Thank you for your report. Are there any public comments at this time?
There were no emails submitted for this item. At this time, if anyone on the teleconference would like to comment on item 7.1, please click on the raised hand icon in the GoToWebinar program. No hands, Mayor.
And we'll close the public comment. Are there any council members' comments or discussion? Any council members? No, seeing none. So, any motion?
I'll move for approval of item 7.1 to receive and file the annual comprehensive financial report.
I'll second that.
We have a second. City Clerk Santana, can you please call for the vote?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Chow?
Yes.
Councilmember Liu?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tai?
Yes.
Mayor Tang?
Yes. Motion passed. Now it's item number 8. We have a 7.2. City Manager Fox, please provide a report for item 7.2.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Our Assistant City Manager, Ryan McLean, will make the staff presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Tang and members of the City Council. The item before you this evening is related to the acquisition of the Pony property, also known as the Diamond Bar Little League property. The resolution before you contains 2 agreements that are necessary to acquire approximately 10 plus acres from the Pony League. The 2 documents are a real property transfer agreement and escrow instructions and a facility use agreement. And we'll talk a little bit about those as we go through. So we'll start with a little history about the Diamond Bar Pony Baseball program. It initially was founded in the early 1960s, shortly after the city incorporated as Diamond Bar Little League, and it spent probably the next 35, 40 years as Diamond Bar Little League. In the 2010s, it switched its overall umbrella organization to the Pony League and has operated in that manner since. There have been thousands of participants over the years in a number of seasons. They have a spring season, they have an all-star season in the summer, and they follow that with fall seasons through August and November. They have a long history of success, winning the National Senior Division World Series Championship in 1998, and many of its participants have played in NCAA programs, College World Series, and Major League Baseball and other professional organizations. One note, the picture that you have there is one of the early program teams, and the individual in the top left is Mr. Marty Stevens, who will be part of this discussion as we proceed. So a little bit about the facility that has housed the Pony and Diamond Bar Little League program since 1969. It was initially donated by the Stevens family. You saw Mr. Stevens in the photo on the previous slide. In 1969. The property is about 10.23 acres. It's located at 22601 Sunset Crossing Road. That's located at the terminus of Sunset Crossing on the city's western border. Immediately across the street, excuse me, from the facility is the YMCA Early Learning Center. On the western side, at the city's border with the City of Industry, is also the Union Pacific Railroad tracks that pass through. There are 4 unlit baseball fields. Currently, one of those is abandoned, and I did fail to mention, pardon me, that the city owns an adjacent piece of property that's about 2.8 acres immediately adjacent to the Pony facility and Sunset Crossing Road, again, immediately across the street from the YMCA facility. In addition to the 4 fields, 3 of which are currently playable, are various outbuildings. So there are batting cages, there's a snack bar, there's a meeting room and storage facility, various other dugouts and scorekeepers booths and so on that have been developed over the years. The property, when the Stevens family donated the facility, included a deed restriction that it should be used for the benefit of the people of Diamond Bar for recreational use, and that applies to this day. So why is the property available? A little bit of background on what led to the discussions and the item that is before the City Council for consideration tonight. Some changing demographics, different consumer preferences, site limitations, including the fact that it is unlit, has led to, over a period of time, a drop in participation. When you have a drop in participation, as you can see, 2024 participation, based on our research, was approximately 120. Some of the documents seem to indicate that it was as low as 110, but in any case, that's down from highs of 1,600 in the past. When there is a drop in participation, that means that there's a drop in revenue. It means there's a drop in dedicated volunteers that help manage and maintain the facility. This led to some tax assessments that were missed dating back to 2018. In early 2024, we noticed, as we do our normal review of the tax assessor's list of properties that are up for tax default, that this property was listed. We contacted the Pony board members and let them know that the property was listed for a Chapter 8 agreement sale by the county. Under a Chapter 8 agreement sale, public entities have the opportunity, right of first refusal, if you will, to acquire those properties to serve a public purpose. You might recall that the City Council took action to move forward with the acquisition of that property through the county Chapter 8 process. Ultimately, the Pony Board determined that it was in their best interest to use their remaining reserves to pay off the tax defaulted amount, including any penalties that were associated with that, eliminate the tax debt to facilitate the 2024 season. And they did that, and they completed the season this summer. That process led to some negotiations between city staff and the Pony Board, pretty much immediately following their decision to extinguish the debt and move forward with the 2024 season, with the understanding that it was going to be financially difficult to maintain the property and continue the program moving forward. We began those discussions with the board members and a team of staff, including the city attorney and our parks director, Ryan Wright. We spent several months meeting with the board. We ultimately agreed on a no-cost transfer of the property to the city with some following conditions, and those conditions are reflected in the facilities use agreement that is included with this resolution. The main points or conditions that are referenced there are providing Pony with priority access to the facility during their seasons, allowing them to play and have games on the facility moving forward. They also requested access to on-site equipment storage. There are two items that are dependent upon the site ultimately being redeveloped in the future, and those are access to a snack bar facility at a redeveloped park site and some type of community room for league meetings, and that is something that would be open to any allocated use, whether it's Pony or any other youth or adult sports program or activity operated by a local nonprofit. They also requested that there be some token of the property's history, the 60 years or so that it has served the community as a recreational site, and recognizing the Diamond Bar Little League / Pony League's history and legacy of the site. And that can be something ranging from a history wall to plaques recognizing that history. And again, these terms are included in the facility use agreement that is included in the resolution. So in considering the acquisition, it's important to take a look at the current conditions of the facility. Currently, as it stands right now, due to the lack of available funding and manpower to maintain it, it is substandard for public access. And there are significant maintenance upgrades that would be required for it to reach playability based on the city standards for the facilities that we allocate. Facilities like Pantera Park or Heritage Park or Peterson Park that are used by our local nonprofit groups. And so some of the maintenance work, some of the maintenance work that is necessary includes pretty significant field work, laser leveling of the field, surface improvements, making sure that the rodent hole that you see in the photo there is eradicated, making sure that we don't have lips on the edge of the infields. Those are a couple examples. We will need to demolish and remove several buildings that are on site that are not up to code and would need to be removed to ensure just overall safety of any users on the facility. There are various electrical and irrigation repairs and improvements that we need to make sure that, at least on the irrigation side, that the improvements that we do in the fields aren't lost after a warm stretch. We need to make sure that we have access to irrigation and that it works. There's various tree and landscaping maintenance that needs to be done, and we'll need to fence some areas of the property off until we can ultimately redevelop a full renovated facility. These are costs that are not small. We estimate, and we're still pending the bid process to bring in contractors to do the various types of work, but we estimate that it's going to cost anywhere from $750,000 to $1 million to do these initial improvements, and that it'll take about 6 months to complete the work before we can then allocate it to any user groups. So the slide before probably jumped the gun on some of the challenges that we have, but essentially, there are some challenges and risks that are associated with the acquisition of this property, starting with that maintenance work and the costs associated with it. Before we can allocate the facility to any user group, we're going to need to do that work. So if we acquired the property in its current state, it would not be playable for our user groups. We would need to do that work to get it up to standard. We could then allocate it to our user groups while we pursue the design and funding requirements necessary to build a full community park. The second immediate challenge is conducting the design work that's necessary to leverage both this site and the adjacent city-owned property that is currently vacant but programmed for a future park, and determining how that will be financed. A redevelopment of this 10.2 acre site in addition or combined with the city's already acquired 2.8 acre site could cost upwards of $20 million, depending on the different amenities that are provided in that new facility. And so the council may need to consider different financing sources, whether it's bonds, whether it's revenue measures, looking at creative options to raise the funds necessary to build something like this. We listed the challenges, but with challenges come opportunity, and it's very rare to have the opportunity to acquire a large parcel of land in Diamond Bar. We talk a lot about this when we're talking about economic development or we're talking about future development in the city. We have very few developable sites. This one is unique in that it has served the community in a recreational capacity for 60 years. It's a large site that is flat and does not require any cut and fill or grading that makes a lot of the other open sites in town prohibitively expensive. And so that in itself is an opportunity. The fact that it comes at no land acquisition cost is another opportunity. If the city did acquire this parcel and conducted the improvements, it would immediately expand athletic field access for all of our users. As you know, the Parks and Recreation Department allocates our existing park space at Pantera Park and Peterson Park and Heritage Park to a number of nonprofit groups. Because we have limited park space, we often have to stack those allocations, and various groups will share. And so you'll see, girls softball will practice in the infield while there's a soccer practice going on in the outfield, and that kind of limits some of the practice opportunity that they have. By acquiring the property and doing the maintenance work, we immediately reduce some of the impacts on our other impacted parks. Now, we don't have lights at this facility, but it still offers us an opportunity to have kind of a pressure release valve on the other facilities. And it could expand the ability for our user groups to practice and have games. Looking at the long-term perspective, it leverages the adjacent parcel that the city has already invested in to purchase. And it gives us the opportunity to build a 13-acre community park. This would be, I believe, the city's largest developed park space. We have parks that are larger in acreage, but that includes some of the open space areas and trails. This is an opportunity to build 13 acres of developed community park space. And it's a unique site in that, based on the design, we can host a number of amenities that meet the needs of all ages. So a future park would not have to be dedicated solely to athletics, for example. The size and scale of this facility gives you the opportunity to meet athletic needs, meet the needs of seniors, youths, different amenities that the community may express a desire in through the design process. And so again, the resolution before the council this evening would approve the attached transfer agreement and escrow instructions and facility use agreement and authorize the city manager to sign those on the council's behalf. We'd recommend that the council consider the item before you and provide direction to staff and move forward. And if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. At this time, is there any public comments?
Mayor, there were no emails submitted for this item, And at this time, if anyone joining the teleconference would like to comment on item 7.2, please click the raised hand icon in the GoToWebinar program. No hands raised, Mayor.
There's a one hand raised, two hands. Can the gentleman please come forward? Can you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is John Salcido. I've been a resident for almost 10 years now. If this does go through and the 13 acres is redeveloped, I know pickleball is really popular in Diamond Bar, so that'd be definitely a sport to add there. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you. We have another hand raised there.
Good evening once again, Mr. Dr. Mayor. My name is Dr. Douglas Barkon, and we've lived in Diamond Bar since 1987, off of Prospectors, and we know about the ball field over there. Once again, my concerns are here and so forth, but one thing is there was a vote and a planning, I guess planning meetings for a decision of what type of I guess it was called a pocket park at part of that area there. And there was a discussion about that, and the outcome of that, I believe, was to put, I think, a playground in that park area, and I think pickleball courts, and something else possibly. But one of the other things that's concerned all the residents in that area has been a long-term protection of that property to avoid a cut-through road to extend Sunset Crossing alongside the railroad tracks to plug into the city of Industry. We need to be sure that that does not happen with this plan whatsoever, and that it is used for a park and a ball field as it is, or other types of uses for public use, but not a roadway. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any council members' comments or discussion? Councilmember Chow?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the report. I do have a question. So I saw on the use agreement, we talked about giving Pony priority, and I think we should. But what I was wondering is, since if we're to take over, acquire the property, now it becomes part of our Park and Rec inventory of parks, and we obviously, as a public agency, have to allocate those to the public. So how do we ensure that the other sports organizations have access? Specific questions, when we say priority use, is there a time frame attached to that? Is it indefinite, or how do we define priority use?
Yes, the priority use is effective during their seasons. And so they have a spring season that goes from approximately February through May. The All-Star season follows that into the summer. And then there's a fall season that goes from August into November. What we would do is we would work with the Pony League to determine their overall needs. Now remember, their overall numbers this year were about 120 participants. And so that means that access to provide a league is not a 24/7, every single night of the year type perspective. We would have our staff, our Parks and Recreation team that does the allocations for all of our parks, would work with the user groups to then allocate based on the need of both Pony and the community, recognizing their right to the priority to have their games and so forth through the season.
Is there a time frame to the priority, or is it indefinite?
The priority remains as long as they are an active entity.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Any other comment? Councilmember Lowe?
Thank you. In your report on packet page 310, it was under item number 2, in the event the city redevelops the facility into the new park, and then, there's some bullet points. I think I heard you say that Pony requests access to a snack bar facility if we build that. Is that, I didn't have a chance to comb through the agreement, but if we don't build it, they don't get that? Or if we build it, they get access to use it, or they get the revenue? Or is that, are we too much in the weeds here?
It would be, if a snack bar was a piece of the redevelopment property, if we get to a point where the council approves a redevelopment of the facility and we have the funding to do so, the request is that that amenity be included and that they have access to it. Similar to what we would do at any of our other facilities that have snack bar facilities that are operable. So in the past, if we have a snack bar, let's say at Peterson Park, we could allocate that to user groups for use. It would not be an exclusive use. It would be part of a public park and subject to the allocation of the facility per the policy that the council's adopted.
So you mean they get to run the snack booth for their own profit? Is that what you mean?
That would be subject to policy of the city council, and I have to admit I'm not 100% sure of what that policy says offhand. But what we have done in the past is allow for those type of uses, provided it fits within the policy that's been established for use of a city snack bar facility.
So this bullet point here, access to a snack bar facility, is really not written in stone. It's not defined.
The request of Pony is that a redeveloped park include these amenities. So a snack bar facility as part of this, and some type of community meeting room similar to what is included at Pantera Park. So if you go to Pantera Park right now and you look at the center of the ball fields, there's the building in the middle, there's the Pantera Park community room, and there's also a snack bar facility that's attached to that as well that in the past has been used by nonprofit groups in the course of their allocations.
I did not know that. I did not know that. You know, the LA County has a rule that nonprofits cannot run snack shacks because of some other rules. So I just think it's very interesting, you know, how things change. I don't know.
I can't speak to the county. I know that there are certain health codes that must be met.
Exactly.
And so there are requirements as to what can be sold and the type of food. You know, this particular bullet point on here does not necessarily mean that there'll be cooking happening in that facility. So it could be packaged food
Right.
That meets those health codes.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to make clear, the city is not required to build a facility with a snack bar, but the agreement stipulates that if one is constructed, then they want access to that.
Okay, so I guess that's the thrust of my question is, are we required to build that? Well, then the next, the following bullet point is access to a community room with the vision that this amenity be available as a central meeting location for local nonprofit youth sports program. I kind of feel like that sentence is inconsistent with the dedication that it be for public use. So is it only limited to youth programs, youth sports, or can it be any local nonprofit use? Does it have to entail sports?
No. It could be open to any use that it is allocated to in accordance with the council's policy for allocating city facilities. The idea here, as communicated by the Pony League, is that on their site currently, they have a meeting space where they can conduct board meetings, they can have meetings, and that's something that they believe is an amenity that other groups would like as well. But there's nothing here that restricts it or makes it exclusive to nonprofit groups, sports groups, or any other group.
Okay, great, thank you. And I just want to point out that Mr. City Manager and Assistant City Manager and our Parks and Rec Director, you guys done a lot of work on this report, just meeting with the Pony League, the leadership of the Pony League, and going back and forth, and actually even finding this opportunity in the first place. And you did a lot of work in informing the City Council on numerous occasions and updates that brought us to this point. So I just want to thank you for all the extra work and bringing this to fruition. I personally am very excited about this. I know that this is not cheap. We're talking, $750,000 to $1 million, but I see it as an investment in our future and what we can envision for our city to make our city better and serve all of our residents. So thank you for your work in this.
Councilmember Liu?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, staff, for working on this. I have a question on the community room. So we do have community rooms in the city now, and per use agreement, does that mean the community room will be free to use as the fields is free to use for our different use groups, rather than as opposed to some of the rooms that we do have, but there seems to be a charge for use?
That could ultimately be a policy choice of the council.
I
As it doesn't
understand that, but
exist at this
per
point.
this use agreement, does that mean, are we pertaining to this particular room? Because in exchange for the field, that we will have perhaps a unique community room in our city that can be used by nonprofits or youth groups to board meetings for free.
I believe that the document here is silent on any cost associated with the use of that room.
Yeah, or charges.
Okay.
It's only an access and first priority.
Mm. Thank you.
Mayor Pro-
Let me ask my first question first. $750 to $1 million to get it in shape. I think I asked this before when we went out on our visit. Are we going to do that so that we don't have to come back and tear all that out and start over when we've got the money to make this a world-class park?
Because we have not completed a comprehensive design, I think it's impossible to do that. We would need to, this is an investment in the period of time in which the facility exists in its current state until we get a design done and construction financing in place to build the final development. I don't think it's possible to invest that in the fields and get them up to shape and then keep them in the same location, because we simply don't know what the public is going to demand of the site in the design process. We don't know what the council is going to want as part of that at this point, because we need to do that work first. So I don't believe that we'll be able to necessarily salvage every dollar that's been put into it, but what it will do is allow us to use 3 of the 4 existing fields that are there now and allocate them to user groups in the period between today and ultimate construction, whenever that is.
Okay, so this is such a tremendous opportunity when you have 10 acres fall in your lap and you add that to 2.8, so we're going to have a 13-acre park in an area of Diamond Bar that has no park nearby. I think I might have asked this. I should have driven it myself. How close is the nearest park? And I think that would be
probably Peterson.
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 Is that 3 miles?
Give or take.
So oh my goodness, it's such a tremendous opportunity. It's such a great opportunity to keep Little League, Pony League, whatever we want to call it, going, to have fields for soccer players, to have fields for pickleball players, to, when we talked about that 2.7 acre piece of land that we bought from the YMCA, I think we hoped we could get basketball courts into it. I think that there was a group of people that really wanted a splash pad. And now to be able to think outside the box here, well, again, remember how many years ago is it? The Diamond Bar Center is 25 years old, right? That the council at that time made that bold move to make the resources available. I think it was a bond measure. And look what we've got today. People come from all over to use that facility. This is the opportunity we have here, to have a terrific park, state-of-the-art, and you scare me when you say $20 million, but let's figure it out. Let's go everywhere we can go and ask for I know that Bob Archuleta was really looking forward to giving us money for a park that we never really got for it, but now maybe we can persuade him again to see the vision and see what can happen there. So I hope that we can make this happen. Thank you. One more question for you. One more question. If I read the numbers right, spring, fall, and all-star seasons was mid-February through June, which is 4 months, and mid-August through November, another 4 months. So is Little League, is the Pony League going to use it for 8 months? Not exclusively.
Not exclusively, no. We would work again through our allocation process and then accommodate their needs. And remember, based on the number of teams that are expected at this time, we don't expect that it would take the entirety of the time that's available during those periods. Another thing to remember is that the all-star period during the summer shrinks the number of participants even more because you don't have everyone that's enrolled participating in the all-star season. And so when we looked at it, we figured that this is something that we can accommodate and allocate to other users as well. Remember, as a reminder, we don't have lights on this facility, so we're subject to availability during the sunlight period, but we can use it on weekends and in the evenings when there is sun available.
Very good. Thank you.
Currently, there are 3 baseball fields in that property. I think we probably have to keep at least one because they on the terms that they have to use that in the future, right? So no matter what other facility we will build on that property, we will at least use one. But is that one enough for the, like say, adult baseball, little league baseball, softball?
Well, our Parks Director probably can explain this better than I can, but a lot of the new facilities are multi-use. And so you can accommodate softball, baseball, football, lacrosse, field hockey, you name it, you can do the whole thing on these multi-use type sports fields. Most of the time they use artificial turf to accommodate it, and so you won't have like a dirt infield, for example. You'd have a colored area that serves as your infield. There are good examples in the area, one in Glendora specifically that has a multi-use type facility. And so when you go through the design process, we can look at the different opportunities that are there to maximize the utility of the space available.
And for the development in the future, will we have the public input open to the public for their comments, for their suggestion or not?
Yes, as our guest, Mr. Barkhan, mentioned, when we acquired the 2.83 acres immediately adjacent to this property, we went through a design process that included a number of public meetings. And so we would do the same thing here. Now, I would remind everyone that whatever we brought forth in the design process for that smaller facility, that was long before we knew that something like this would be available. So this would likely be a new design period in which we look at the entire site comprehensively. It may include some of the items that were brought up when we were restricted to that smaller site, but it's really a much larger blank canvas, and so we would do a very extensive public outreach period during the design phase.
Thank you. Is there any other comment? If none, would anybody want to make a motion?
I'll motion. I'll motion for the approval of real property transfer agreement and escrow instructions with Diamond Bar Little League for property located at 22601 Sunset Crossing Road.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
City Clerk Santana, please call for the vote.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Chow?
Yes.
Councilmember Liu?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tai?
Yes.
Mayor Tang?
Yes. The motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we'll go to the last item, number 8, council subcommittee reports and the meeting attendance reports, council member comments. We're going to start with council member Chow.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, staff, for a very comprehensive meeting tonight. We'll have a lot of good information, a lot of reports. Thank you, but that is part of the civic process, and that's why we're elected to do what we do, so thank you. Wanted to first say that my hearts and prayers go out to the fire victims. Like many of you, we know somebody who's affected by the fire, and like some of you, I spent the last week and a half collecting and distributing donated supplies. But it is through that process and through this unimaginable destruction that you realize the human spirit's really strong, and you see the community come together. Diamond Bar have multiple restaurants, Fusion to Anyone Sushi, Basil & Co., a number of others I'm forgetting right now, but they all just voluntarily set up donation sites, collection sites, and the city really came together. I'm so proud of our residents, how everyone, although we're not personally affected by the fire, but it's great to see the community come together. We're collecting diapers, baby wipes, water, just daily essential that you don't even think you need it until you don't have anything left and your house is burned to the ground. So no, it was such a profound moment for me to see the community come together, the likes of which I don't think I've seen since COVID. But, sometimes it takes an event like that to bring the community together. So again, just want to thank our community for coming together to help those that needed the help the most when they're most vulnerable. So with that, I'll say good night. Thank you.
Thank you for that very encouraging comment. Councilmember Lowe?
Thank you, Mayor. I also echo Councilmember Chow's comment. It was just, my heart goes out to those who've lost their homes and their possessions and just their way of life and are really traumatized that event. And we pray for them. And it's really great that people are reaching out and sharing what they have. So our hearts are just heavy, but we're glad and we're so grateful that we were out of harm's way. And with that, I just want to thank our city finance staff with Director Jacobson and City Manager Dan Fox for just that excellent financial report, for the clean audit. Just really impressive work. It looks great. I think you'll get another citation when you send it up for review. I'm really proud of our city that we have a very good reserve, 25% of our budget reserve, and this week's report specifically says for wildfires. So in terms of the city council acting proactively to protect our city, I'm just really proud that we have resources there in the event that harm does come our way, and we pray that it won't, but as we heard from tonight from our fire department, our water department, we want to be ready and if anything does happen. And I just encourage our residents and our neighbors to also be ready because we don't know. So with that, I would just wish everybody the best and thank you and good night.
Thank you. Councilmember Liu?
Thank you, Mayor. And I'd like to thank staff for a wonderful presentation and all you do, and echo to our fellow council members. Our heart goes out to those affected by the fires, and we also are very encouraged by the community coming together and our citizens here in Diamond Bar and some of the restaurants, and that Councilmember Chow has mentioned, and one of the restaurants that would step up to help was Georgie's. So they went out and offer free meals to those affected and our first responders. And I want to thank our staff for the diligence that we do in keeping us safe, and we know we do quite a bit of mitigation work and preparedness, and in these times of high risk and keeping us safe, and our community members checking up on each other and supporting each other. And sometimes those winds are pretty scary, and then when the lights go out, also helping each other out. And I know some of the elderlies that were affected in the area with the power switch off, and their neighbors that do have the power and stay with their neighbors on that. So thank you so much, and for all that are celebrating Lunar New Year, happy Lunar New Year on the 29th. And with that, I say good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. Started the first part of the new year in Sacramento with California Contract Cities. And if you ever want to be depressed, go talk to people in Sacramento. They are absolutely certain they know what the cities ought to be doing, and Contract Cities helps us, and League of Cities helps us to push back and hopefully have some common sense. take place. But that being depressed by that group of people is offset by tonight having the opportunity to get 10 acres to have something that we can make better for the pony group and make better for the athletes in Diamond Bar, that will have a brand new facility and I think state of the art. And I realize that this is going to take a long time and it's going to cost a lot of money, but you got to have a vision, and this is very, very exciting to have that vision. So thanks very much for seeing it through, for the folks in pony baseball, and they needed help, and we reached out, and everybody's going to be better for it. So with that, I'll say goodnight, and God bless you.
Thank you. I agree with all my colleagues, whatever they say, I totally agree. The only thing I will add is I think we'll work on to have the SCE representative come to our meeting soon, maybe next meeting. We'll work on that. We are going to listen to what they have to say with this PSPS, especially in the southern part of our city, that where a lot of residents there suffer a long power outage, as what one of the residents reported tonight. So we'll work on that, so everybody keep tuned. And with that, I will say happy Lunar New Year and good night. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.